Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and today we are going to be talking about an aggressive deck for Set 8 Reign of Jafar, and that is Chernadogs. Except this time, we're actually leaving the Chernabog at home. I know, a bit of blasphemy for this deck, but hear me out. So, if you aren't familiar with this deck from last set, essentially what it wanted to do is just spam a bunch of characters, and then you would use this new Tramp Street Smart Dog from last set. For every character you had in play, not only did he get cheaper, but he drew a bunch of cards and then immediately threw them out, which at first I thought, well, that's dumb. Why would I want to just draw cards to throw them away? Well, because it turned on Chernabog and let him come out very quickly. However, I have cut both Chernabog and Tramp from this list. Why? I'll be honest, I feel like this has been a lot more consistent, at least in the amount of testing I have done, than the Chernabog list. Yes, it doesn't have the insane top end that a Chernabog was able to give to the list, but there were a lot of times Chernabog also became a brick. You would draw him too early, or you wouldn't see the Tramp, and then you were just stuck with this massive card in your hand, and it just felt very inconsistent. And I think this list that I have crafted feels more consistent. And I'm a player personally. I always like more consistency. If you want the high top end, by all means, go back to Chernabog and this Tramp. Well, without Chernabog to come online, I don't think this Tramp is actually a very good card. Instead, I much prefer this new version of Tramp, the Dapper Rascal, since it gives you a way to replenish your hand if your opponent gets rid of this card or even any of the other cards. So not only can you shift it on 4, you can just play it outright for 6. And if your opponent has to do something like a Be Prepared, which I'm going to show you in one of these matches, you get to draw a card for every character which is banished, which was always Aggro's biggest problem, right? It didn't have card draw. It would just run out of gas. And this Tramp, even if they immediately get rid of him first, which is difficult to do with Steel, a lot easier to do with Ruby, but let's say they brawl him, they immediately get rid of him, he at least draws you a card. So he does something. Granted, that's not the most ideal use of him, but it's something. It's way better than a lot of these other cards that do absolutely nothing. So I've been really happy with this guy in practice. He has paired very well, not only with the 2-cost Tramp as a shift target, but this 3-cost one as well. This has performed a little better than I first thought. One, it's just a decent body. Usually in this type of deck, you're not going to be challenging your opponents very often. You're just putting characters onto quests, but in case you need to, in case there was something you absolutely had to hit, he hits for 3, which is kind of nice. And then he gives a character ward. So if they were planning to Little Sisu or Piglet or Storm Rage on or Brawl like a pig, something like that, he can protect a character. Let's say it's whatever your Lilo. I actually really like giving ward to the Merfolk. It's one of my favorite targets because now, even if they can still challenge the Merfolk, now they have to challenge, which means they have to discard. Whereas beforehand, they could go, oh, I'll hit it with Storm Rage on. It goes away. No challenge. I don't have to discard. Nope. Tramp then kind of forces them to do that. So he's one of our new cards. Of course, for playing Tramp, we have to play his Lady Love, another new card. This card is just insane. I can't believe this is not uninkable because it's just insane. You play it on 3 and you play your favorite 2-cost character for free as well. And it also has good lore on its own. Yeah, it'll die to a Stiff Breeze, but who cares because you've already vomited itself and another card into play. Overall, our uninkables are actually quite low in here, 11. Which 2-cost do you want to play with this? Well, you can play any of these, whichever you think best fits the situation. If you have a good multi-lore quester early, like Daisy or Cursed Merfolk, I actually kind of like Jim Deer. For our bodyguard options, you could use Jim Deer, the Prince, Simba. Simba, unfortunately, I think has had his time. There's an argument you could make that still something that hits for 2 is nice, but why do I like Jim Deer over the Prince? Just because he's inkable, and I don't want to have the high uninkable count. If you would prefer the Prince, you can absolutely jam him in here if you'd rather have that 1 extra willpower. But I've found Jim Deer's worked just as well, and then he's inkable as well. So personally, I like him a little better. I don't have Piglet in this particular list. Piglet is always good, so if you want to jam Piglet in here as a huge lore threat, you can. I have found that this list tends to want to go wide more with 1-drops than it does necessarily like a 1-on-1, Piglet on 2, whatever on 3. So, and because of that, Piglet's also just, he's such a magnet for they're going to hit him with some form of removal. So personally, I'm not running Piglet. You could absolutely throw Piglet in. Again, throw the Prince over Jim Deer as you want. Other new cards we're looking at. Huey. Huey has done wonders. Huey is essentially Doc, except 1 cheaper. Yes, he's uninkable, but it's worth it because he gets a character out that much sooner. So, and it's when he quests, just like Doc. So you can quest with the Huey on turn 3, and then now you can vomit out, you can play this Tramp and then still have 1 left over. You can play the Lady and still have 1 ink left over. So Huey's been very good in testing. I've liked this card a lot. And he basically has the stats of a Simba, and they're going to want to get him off the board because he is going to keep making things cheaper for you. So he's kind of like a pseudo bodyguard in that sense, but not entirely. But Huey's very good. I've liked this a lot. A lot of this stuff is standard. Go Tamago for instant lore cheese. Lilo can keep coming back. Ursula to help protect you a bit. Yzma I'm only running one of. I don't really like this card. I don't think drawing is very useful when you then have to discard a card. And again, she made sense in the last list because she fueled the Chernabog. But in this list, since we're not running that, I've cut her all the way down to 1. You can honestly remove her entirely, put in a 4th Lilo, 3rd Tamago, Jim Deere, whatever you prefer. Let's see, what else is it? Donald standard, bodyguard on 3, gives something extra lore. Yeah, let's talk about Gadget Hack Wrench. This card I haven't used a ton, but I actually really liked it. So because you're going aggressive and you're going to be vomiting your hand out, not once has this effect ever not resolved. All it requires is that when you play her, as long as they have more cards in their hand than you, she replaces herself. She draws a card. And again, every time I've used her, that condition has fired. If for some reason that condition hasn't fired, I don't know what that game is looking like. Maybe it's an aggro mirror. Maybe that'd be the one time she wouldn't. And then, yes, her stats aren't amazing. She's going to get taken out by a strength or a storm, whatever. But she at least quests for 2. Again, if you want something a little more protection, you could run the Prince Philip. You can run this as a card that's not only 1 cheaper, but essentially guarantees you'll get this 2 lore off because it has the ward keyword. But I very much favor refilling my hand, so I've been happy with the way Gadget works. Rapunzel, we're only running 3. Usually when stuff gets damaged, it tends to not survive with damage, but you still want 3 Rapunzel just in case. Jacques is a new addition. He's been a good top end, especially if you're going quick, and if they're a slower deck, they can't answer it. It's quite easy to get Jacques online. That it's just more instant lore cheese, kind of like the Go-Go, so which this deck definitely needed. So he's been good in testing. I don't know if you'd want a full 4 of him, because obviously if you top deck him late game after a board wipe, he's not going to do much. But again, he's at least a decent body, and so there's a few times when, I can actually challenge with the Jacques. Who else do we have that's new? Pretty much this lady is the only other one. And this card, so the combo with this card, when I first saw this, I was like, well, this card's terrible. You have to play 3 characters to get her to get extra lore. That's awful. However, she has a very specific combo line, whereas if you open her on turn 1, turn 2, you have this tramp and 1 other 1-drop. So when you play this tramp, he's 1 less if you have Lady, so he's only going to cost 1, so another 1-drop. So you essentially get 2 1-drops out. And then he gives +1 attack to any character. So what you do is you play Lady, bump her with the +1 from Tramp. She naturally gets a +1 because a character entered. And then your other 1-drop gives her the final +1. She becomes a 3/3, and then she quests for 3 on turn 1. It is inconsistent, I won't lie, if you would prefer this lady. Now, this one still requires the Tramp, but it's always a guaranteed 2 lore just for Tramp existing. So if you would prefer this one, I don't think that's incorrect to go back to this one. I went with this one just because it's not consistent in the sense of this combo isn't consistent, but she's an inkable. She does have a little more health, so I've enjoyed it for what it is, but I think you could absolutely go back to this lady. Everything else is pretty standard. Daisy, Nala, Merfolk, Little John, just cards you want to jam out and go fast. The one other card I would potentially consider for this deck is Darling Deer. I haven't tested this. She's a bit expensive at 5. We tend to not want high cost cards unless they have really big impact, like the instant lore or card draw from these. But as long as you have another character on the board that can quest, she says it now just quests for 2 extra, which is very good. And then she has the good stats from Medusa. So I think this character absolutely could fit into this list. I'm not quite sure where, but if you want to try her, give her a try. Let me show you some very quick matches about how aggro this deck can be. As always, I must give the caveat that these matches are against the AI ink table, which is very suspect at times. I've seen it use Be Prepared on its own board when I had nothing, so, just take all of this with a grain of salt, but at least it gives you an idea how it runs. And granted, it's a very quick aggro deck. You should kind of know how it runs because it really only does one thing, and it does it well. So here I get out the new Huey. Daisy, of course, is always a great opening. Gets a bit punished by the Super Goof, which is unfortunate. I think this is the DKP Sharkburn list we're using as a test. As you can see, Huey makes things cheaper, so I can play the Donald without inking. We actually get to send away a Be Prepared, which is very nice. And now I can still put out a 1-drop that turn, thanks to the power of Huey. Donald's protecting against the Super Goof. Yeah, they're getting lore, but I'm assuming I can go faster than that regardless. And Jacques can come out, and now, boom, instant 2 lore. I'm already up to 8. If I fully quest out, I will go to, I think, 13. And I still have a bodyguard, so yeah, Goofy's there, but he's going to have to keep pumping away at the Donald. There goes the B-Prep. We lose our board. But now we go to the Lilo plan, and the Lilo plan is very good when your opponent is forced to challenge it every single turn. I'll probably go in on the second Lilo plan. You are seeing, though, we have hit the typical aggro. Well, we're out of gas. Lilo kind of helps with that. Not so much in the face of a shark, but it's too late. We've already won. And as you can see, hey, Gadget. Drew an extra card just in case. Pretty quick game one there. Let's see. We get the lady line. I will, in the mulligan, so you always want, of course, 1-drops. Triple 1-drop is great. If you can get the lady tramp line, awesome. Huey is very good as well. I don't mind dropping Huey on 2 because then he just makes everything else cheaper. You know what else is very good? Triple Daisy. Sure, too. Especially against a blue deck, which is going to go pretty slow. And I might even get to... Well, I'm giving them a bunch of CC. So if they get to that turn, they're going to blow me out. But in the meantime, I get to shuffle stuff away. And the Huey can help us get out the tramp as well. Ooh, we even got the little one to shift onto this time. There's Rapunzel. We heal up the 2 from the Daisy. Thanks, Super Goof. I appreciate those extra cards there, buddy. And we just went so fast. I mean, they're not even close to being able to board wipe us. But even if we could, we've just gone so fast at this point. Doesn't matter. You can bring down a Maui. You can bring down whatever you want. Yeah. Triple Daisy is pretty absurd. There's not a whole lot of decks that are going to be able to come back from that aggressive start. As you can see, I can pump her up there. That is a massive lady. She has 8 attack power. Too fast for the old blue decks. Next, I will be showing you a bunch of different ones. Here, do I have the tramp line? No, I've just got the tramp. But I've got Daisy, Nala John. And, of course, I ship away the big tramp and then get the one I can shift into. So, of course, Daisy is always your turn 1 play. As you can see, I gave up the double 1-drop because I want to go in on a 2-drop. And I'm going to put out the bodyguard. I see the challenger, Diablo. Only thing I don't like about these 0-strength bodyguards, like, it is nice when Simba can bounce them or can actually challenge them. Not that he challenges them. Well, he can challenge too, but that he'll deal damage when they come back. As we spam, and I actually don't quest with the Gym Deer because I'm trying to set up the Jacques next turn, I'm assuming. Now, this match actually is a little interesting, the green-purple, because they're also going quick. And so here you're going to see a little bit of the struggles of like, oh, well, what happens when your opponent is also going fast and I have to try to challenge into them? Well, here's an instance when Jacques can make a difference. And they at least have to burn 2 on the Gym Deer, which it would have done the exact same to the Prince. So Jacques can take out, fill up, heal up with the Rapunzel. So that feels quite good. We get out more Daisy. Prince or Little John has no power. And I'm kind of in this weird spot of like, can I go faster than them or do I need to turn and challenge? Well, they're turning and challenging me, so this one's actually becoming quite the back and forth as they're getting a lot of characters. I'm probably going to have to challenge a little bit because I don't think I can quite get the board the way it is. I have Jacques trade with the goat, which it's nice to have a big enough body that does that. Daisy has to take out the kit. And we get to do the lady to play for free. We get a ton of lore. I get the Huey out. Daisy's gone. Here comes the merfolk. Ooh, library's pretty good too. And they bounced the goat. I don't know if we're going to be able to get this one. This is looking real close. What do we have on board? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Donald, I think, actually gets me there. I think the Donald gets me just enough because he gives the extra lore. So I get the surprise lore out of nowhere. 1, 2, yep. 16, 17. Oh, no, I was 1 short. Oh, I was 1 short. But I can take out the merfolk. And yeah, they have enough. So couldn't quite pull that one off. And you can, well, unless our opponent challenges. Oh yeah, they have the goat. Duh. I was like, wait a minute. Why did they give that up? But as you can see, if you're forced to challenge your opponent, this deck can struggle a little bit. Your Tramp, your Jacques, those are the only cards you really have that put up a challenging threat. So many of our characters have 0 strength or 1 strength. It just doesn't do anything. So not perfect as any list is, but that's also a pretty rare situation. But we're going to try it again. All right, see if we can't do something different. I do have a Tramp shift line here if I would like to take that. I could also go on the lady line. I've got a lot of options. I've got a lot of dogs, right? A handful of 5 dogs, 4 dogs. So we do the lady. We can actually put out the little Tramp, and now I can go into the Jacques or the Tramp shift next turn. We actually use the Tramp's ability to buff up our Huey so we can run into an opposing character, which is pretty nice. Nice little form of spot removal. Here I decide I do want to do the shift. It's green-purple. They're going to struggle to get rid of this 8 willpower. Plus, now if any character dies, I'm going to get to start drawing cards. So you're going to get to see the power of this Tramp. I can do the Jacques here. I could go in on both the Lilo and the Daisy. And actually, I'm going to do Daisy and Jacques. Get a bunch of instant lore. And now it's, okay, well, you have to get this 8 body off the board. Where's your crab fox? Nope, it ain't there. So we're just going to run away with that one. And the tramp card draw is just so nice. Having any form of card draw in a deck like this is exactly what you want. All right, well, we got the tramp shift line. A single one drop. Don't have a good turn. I guess we could do tramp on turn 2. Not that that's amazing. So I decided to keep it. I'm going to go in on the tramp shift line. I think this is Diggy Diggy Hole or Steel Song. His opponent goes on Piglet. I can probably set up the Donald too. So yeah, all right, here's another match. Our opponent says, okay, hey, you're not the only one who can play aggro. And I kind of want to deal with this Piglet. I actually give up the Donald for the extra lure. I want the extra tramp. Not only does it power up this tramp, so here's one of the few little combat tricks you can do. I can use it, power it up, make sure I take out the Piglet, and now I'm ready for the tramp shift line as well. Poor lady. If only she could have lasted one more turn. I think this tramp can be very good against steel. Not only will steel take a long time to get through 8 health, again, if they start picking off these other characters with their songs, I'm just going to start drawing cards off of that. Sometimes that might bite you back as Whole New World, but usually if someone Whole New World's an aggro deck, you're like, hey, thanks, and you just flood the board anyway. And we do a free play Ursula, like, oh, were you going to Whole New World? Yeah, I don't think you were. I could have done Zeus to take out the removal, but I actually have more cards than they do currently. And so I just go wide saying, you guys don't run Grab Your Sword anymore. I can go as wide as I want. Now, our opponent's actually almost going to put us on close lore, but I have so much double lore on the board, so we can just easily quest that. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, and I can even power up the lady to give her an extra 3, so now she quests for 3. Just lore on lore on lore on lore. That version was fun, but again, they're just sometimes Chernabog would just brick you. And I have personally appreciated the consistency of this much more. So we got some good 1-drops. We got the tramp shift line here as well. We do actually have the lady line. We do. So I'm going to show you. So I go in on the lady on 1. So now we specifically have to run the tramp, the 2 cost, and any 1 cost. Can be Merfolk or Daisy, whatever we prefer. I go for the Merfolk. She gets +1 from tramp entering. Have tramp buff her. Now she quests for 3 on turn 1. You can only really get that off 1 turn. It is very difficult to do that multiple turns in a row, as it looks like I'm going to send Donald into Protector, because it's just very unlikely you're going to have that many cards. I actually go ahead and take out the Diablo just to cut off some of the card draw. And we're ready to shift into Tramp next turn. I actually give up the lady. I say I want the card draw over the spamming. And we're already on 13 with just mega lore on the board. Like, what are you going to do? You have to hit this down and watch. Oh, you took out one of my characters. I'll draw for Tramp. Oh, you drew me right into that. You can hit the Tramp. Even with the crab buff, he lived. He lived through a crab fox. That's awesome. That is a great combo. Oh, and Jock drop for the win. Brad, Rules of Villainy, check that out. That one's for you, buddy. Jock off the top rope. Oh! What do we got in this one? Jim Deere. I might try to find a couple more 1-drops. Huey's always good. I do always like Huey. What was that band? Huey Lewis in the News. We got Lady Spam. Huey's going to set us up. And Calhoun, of course, is always a bit of an issue because it's Calhoun, and she's a pain to fight. I opt to actually challenge the Chernabog here instead of the quest, just because I want to keep them off the card draw. And at this point, I think I just go in on the Tramp. The Tramp can actually hit her. This Calhoun can challenge the Tramp, and she still won't banish him because that high health. I'm telling you, that high health is huge. Look at that. We refill off the Rapunzel. And I just start questing and say, well, you're going to have to hit him eventually, and you got a lot to go through. We're happy with the Chromicon. Look at the card advantage we have compared to our opponent. And now we just start flooding the board. Put out as many characters as possible. Say, you got to answer me. Does get the power off the Calhoun. Always be a little mindful of that card. But I just say, okay, well, I have all these 2 Lord Questers on the way, so unless you top deck something really crazy, I think I got you here. They both have resist, so the Ursula attacking doesn't do a whole lot for us. And I think can get out, the gadget here, and I still draw off the gadget, so. Massive board. Look at that. I powered up. Look at that. I powered with the Tramp. The Tramp gives damage based on every character, so I powered up the Ursula. That Ursula hit for 9. It'll 2 cost 9/3. Nobody ever expects that, and we can win it any way we want here. We can do some go-go. We can do Jacques off the top. That Ursula hit was very satisfying. And this might be our final match. And we only got 1 or 2. I put quite a few on here just because I know they go so quickly. But so you can see with the tramp, you have a very few, I guess you could call them combat tricks. For the most part, you're just going to be going as quick as you can, trying to rush. But on occasion, you have just enough that maybe you can get 1 or 2 things that, you know, little tricks and things you can do. All right, so we got a bodyguard for our beloved merfolk. Tipo, we're not worried about. Ooh, I think this is the match with the Be Prepared that I alluded to at the start of the video. So our opponent ramps out. We can shift into the tramp. Even if a Maui came down right now. Now, granted, I have a bodyguard, so he couldn't hit the tramp anyway. But even if he sent Maui and Tipo in, he can't take out the tramp. 8 health is so good. And I actually play the gadget knowing, again, I easy draw off the gadget. Okay, go ahead, Be Prep me with 19 lore. They're going to have to. And guess what I'm going to draw? Be prepared. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Yeah. Oh, banish all my characters and I draw 5 cards? Yeah, I don't mind if I do. I don't mind if I do. I actually just put out the lone tramp. They're forced to be prep again. So he immediately was banished. I just drew a card. They immediately banished him again. He at least drew a card. He did something. Like, I absolutely love this card. This is my favorite new card for this set. And at this point, you've just used 3 Be Prepareds in a row. I just spam the board, hit him with the Jock off the top rope. Don't mind if I do. That's the list. It's fun. It's exciting. It's fast. It's consistent. I hope you enjoy. I'm going to leave the link for the deck in the description down below. I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like and subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 2,000 subs, and your help can get us there. Check out the description of the video for links to our Medify page, where I offer private coaching, and consider becoming a patron or YouTube member for exclusive bonuses. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, take care.